Welcome to this Bible prophecy study. Jesus said, "Now I tell you before it comes, that when it is come to pass, ye may believe that I am he." John 13, verse 19. The book of Revelation puts much of its message in word pictures, and we've tried to include a few visual aids. The illustrations used in these classes are often dramatized artist interpretations, and as such, are sometimes not exactly correct in every detail. Revelation chapter 13. This is part of the second set of 7 chapters, which cover the last 7 years, the tribulation, and the rapture. Chapter 13. The Antichrist and the False Prophet. Verse 1. And I, that's John, stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns. In prophecy, the sea symbolizes the people of the world, and the beast that rises up is made of some of those people and represents the government, which rises up, is over the people. These 7 heads literally represent the 7 great world empires that have ruled over God's people, from Egypt down to the final Antichrist kingdom. The 10 horns are 10 kings of the end who cooperate with the Antichrist for a short time and receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast, as it says in Revelation chapter 17. The fact that the crowns are upon the 10 horns shows that this prophecy is dealing with the time when these particular kings are in power, with the final Antichrist government itself. Though it is the final Antichrist government that the rest of chapter 13 deals with, God is showing us by this one beast with the 7 heads that the Antichrist government has always been in existence from the beginning. It's all the same beast, although it's manifested its ugly head in the 7 major governments of the world that have ruled over God's people: Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, the Antichrist government to come. Whatever government it is, it's all part of the same beast, all part of the devil's governments. Verse 2. This beast looks like unto a leopard, with feet like a bear, and a mouth as the mouth of a lion. All these different parts correspond with the different beasts that Daniel saw in his vision, representing the different kingdoms of man. You can see Daniel chapter 7. This shows us that this final beast will be the ultimate fulfillment of man's government, a combination of the best or most severe qualities of each. Man's final government will be his ideal, ruled by the devil himself through their ideal leader, the Antichrist. For the dragon, that's the devil, gave him, the Antichrist, his power and his seat and great authority. Verses 3 and 14. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. This prophecy has greatly puzzled intellectual Bible scholars for almost 2 millennia. Only one other verse in Scripture talks of one of these heads or nations being wounded by a sword. That's in Ezekiel chapter 30, verse 24. And I will put my sword into the king of Babylon's hands, but I will break Pharaoh, that's Egypt, arm, and he shall groan before him with the groanings of a deadly wounded man. This could be seen as if some modern king, the leader of a powerful government, will be broken by another powerful opposing government's sword, but he will be revived again to lead the world. Many people point to the fact that the government or beast of communism fell in the 90s and is still here, wounded unto death and did live. And they point out from many other prophecies that it is evident that the Antichrist comes to total power in Russia, Gog of Magog. Now there are even more ways that this prophecy could be fulfilled. The type of scientific or medical research that was generally considered as unethical is today, in 2019, being eagerly pursued, As a result, the world is rushing into a new era of merging man with computers, life support, and artificial intelligence for, quote, enhanced abilities and prolonged life, end quote. The Antichrist could be literally wounded unto death and by science/technology be seemingly brought back to life with the devil inside. Or also, he might willingly submit to an operation that would link him to a great computer, and the sword would be a surgeon's scalpel. This is not a prediction. We repeat, this is not a prediction. It's only to show that these revelations and interpretations that were compiled from tapes and writings from before 1975 about things that were written 2,000 years ago are amazingly on course with all the so-called latest advances and discoveries and inventions. Instead of science and technology disproving the Bible, they're actually making the fulfillment of these prophecies seem even more possible than ever before. The devil is going to demonstrate his supernatural power by explaining that this power is purely scientific power. He's not going to say it's spiritual, because the whole world has been so deliberately despiritualized and dereligionized that they will no longer accept any spiritual or religious explanation as being true. It has to be scientific. Verses 3 and 4. And all the world wondered after the beast, and they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast. Revelations 13, verses 3 and 4a. In worshiping this beast, they may or may not know it, but they're worshiping the devil. And they said, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? In the ways of the world, might is right, and war is the ultimate of all man's endeavors. Man is at his best, at his worst, which is war. And this guy, the Antichrist, is the top warmonger, and everybody worships him for it. Verse 5. There was given him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. This description of the Antichrist's big mouth was also used by Daniel in his various descriptions of the Antichrist. You can see Daniel chapter 7 and 11. And power was given unto him to continue 42 months. Daniel said for a time and times and the dividing of time. Daniel 7:25. The Lord couldn't be any more specific about the length and duration of the tribulation period. And the main reason is so that we'll know it's only going to last just so long and then it will be over. Praise the Lord. Jesus said, speaking of the tribulation, except that the Lord had shortened those days, meaning put a limit on them, no flesh should be saved. But for the elect's sake, or the saints, whom he hath chosen, he hath shortened the days. Mark chapter 13, verse 20. 3.5 years and no longer. Verse 7. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God. And it was given him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. There are so many of these scriptures that sound just like Daniel's prophecies about this same period. Why would God devote almost 2 entire books plus multitudes of other prophecies throughout the Bible just to these few years of the end time? Because he doesn't want us to be deceived along with the rest of the world. He wants us to be prepared. According to all that is written in Bible prophecy concerning these last 3.5 years immediately before the second coming of Christ, the beast, the Antichrist, is going to overcome the church completely as far as her temporal power is concerned. Its buildings, organizations, money, and many will suffer as martyrs, so God help us to take these warnings seriously and be ready. Verses 7 and 8. And power was given him over all kindreds, that's races, and tongues, languages, and nations, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. We all dwell upon the earth, but the important question is, Are you written in the Lamb's book of life? Are you one of the saved whose names are written in heaven? Luke chapter 10, verse 20. It's either Jesus or the devil. Take your choice, because that's what it's going to come to. If any man have an ear, let him hear. Verse 10. The Antichrist is going to be the greatest dictator the world has ever known, but he'll get his reward, for he that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Jesus himself shall take over the earth, and we shall reign with him forever. Just keep that in mind when they try to force you to deny your faith. Verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. In Revelation chapter 19, verse 20, this second beast is called the false prophet. Just as Jesus had his prophet, John the Baptist, to prepare the way of the Lord, so the Antichrist will also have his prophet to prepare the way of the devil. Verse 12 through 14. And he causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on earth in the sight of men. And by these miracles he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast. Verse 14 says that he deceiveth them that dwelleth on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. Either he will pretend to have mental psychic powers, but is actually physical, like an illusionist, or he will claim that his power is scientific, but actually it'll be demonic. We will see. But be watching and don't be fooled. Verse 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. This image or idol of the beast was called by Daniel the abomination of desolation, which would be set up in a temple which is yet to be built by the Jews in Jerusalem on Mount Moriah, where the Dome of the Rock now stands. It will undoubtedly be the long-foretold supercomputer that the scientists are feverishly working to complete, possibly a network of computers with a central headquarters in Jerusalem. Verse 16. It says that the false prophet causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. A mark, some tiny electrode or RFID chip, advanced electronic marking that would hook up all of those who received it to a gigantic universal brain. In the late 60s and early 70s, people laughed at this idea. But today, in 2019, nobody's laughing anymore. Over the last 7 decades, those dear dedicated witch doctors have been working on just that very thing in their laboratories. The technology to do it is already here. All they need is the right conditions, a totalitarian world dictatorship to put it into effect. The results of this, they say, would bring a true utopian society. No murder, stealing, or rape, because everybody would be monitored. It would be a beautiful heaven on earth which man has created with his own hands through the image of the beast. Verse 17. And that no man will be able to buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here's some other predictions that were written before 1975, back when credit cards were a new fad and hadn't even caught on yet. The accuracy of these statements is startling. The time will come when money will no longer be used as a medium of exchange. Instead, the money medium of exchange will be replaced with a remarkable credit system in which every person in the world who belongs to the system will have a credit number, this mark of the beast, without which he can neither buy nor sell. and by which he is accredited in his governmental account with the value of whatever goods or services he produces, and to which he can charge the goods and services that he needs. Every member of the world system will be branded or tattooed with the mark of this final bestial anti-God world government. Instead of bowing down to paper money, they will have a new God, a new money system, and be branded by the beast like cattle for the slaughter. They will be forced to worship the beast and his image or be killed. This image of the beast will definitely have something to do with the money system, even if it is a new money system. For the love of money is the root of all evil. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. Money, or credit systems like this one will be, is made by the government, and it really represents the power of the beast, the king or the government. As Jesus said, "Show me a penny. Whose image and superscription hath it?" And they answered and said, "Caesar's." That's in Luke chapter 20, verse 24. And Caesar was the beast of his day, the sixth head of the seven-headed beast. Again, today in 2019, no one is laughing at this. Verse 18. Therefore, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. 666. Again, for millennia, people could not figure out what this meant. There were a few theories, such as 1. 6 is the number of man, as man was created on the sixth day. 3 sixes indicate a trinity, which would indicate man trying to play God or trying to be perfect. A second one is the so-called Jewish Star of David may not be the Star of David at all, but the Seal of Solomon or the Star of Remphan, as in Acts chapter 7, verse 43. But being six-pointed, it could be a symbol of the Antichrist. And another is that in many of the ancient languages, the letters of their alphabets were also used as numbers. So it may be that the letters of the Antichrist's name will numerically add up to 666. It may not be any of these, or it could be all three. You mathematicians keep your pads and pencils handy in any event. However, a few years back, Bible believers were shocked to realize that every product on the store shelf is marked with a 666 on the new barcodes. Since that time, the mark of the beast has become a commonly known thing, and even a fashion statement in the world. But that was the beginning of people no longer laughing at the prophecies found in Revelation chapter 13.